All right, so I just wanted to briefly talk about my rough block out and layout. So I've just quickly blocked out this scene based on the reference I created. It was just a quick concept I painted up in Photoshop. And if we look through the RenderCam setup, we can see better what I'm talking about. So right here, we have this is what I used as reference for this scene. So if we toggle to wireframe, you can see that all the geometry relates directly to objects that were found within the concept. So right here we have this sort of ledge. Next to that we have the ledge in front, so that was actually behind. We have these trees in frame. These are just some basic meshes I'm using as proxies. They're not really going to be in the final image. They were just some nice. They had a little bit more detail than your average blocky plant, so I thought they'd look nice in the layout scene. So yeah, we have pretty much the whole scene blocked out before I even begin sculpting. So I can see what it's going to look like. So if we go now to the camera animation, we can see what the camera move looks like in a three-dimensional space. And really, I'm quite happy with where it's at. I'm not really going to change it too much beyond this point. So I've just exported these mountains out of Vue just as OBJs. I wanted to have them sort of roughly the right size and shape of mountains, so Vue was a good solution for that. I'm also going to be using Vue for the matte painting projection out the back here of the mountains, so I'll probably be able to reuse these at some stage. So as we come through here with the camera, you can see that there's this red object here. It's actually meant to be representative of an average male's height, which is about 180 centimeters, which is actually my height, funnily enough. And it comes over here to this temple, and that's going to be on another Vue mountain, which also I exported from Vue. Down here it's a bit hard to tell, but this is going to be a cloud layer, so you won't actually be able to see to the ground. But all of this will be projections with from Photoshop and projected in Nuke. Sorry, I just got a message then. Yeah, so most of these trees and things will be made in SpeedTree, and they'll have a little bit of animation, which will be nice. It'll have to be cached out to keep it nice and efficient. But what I'm planning on doing for these rocks, after I do a basic sculpt, I'm going to sort of take all of these into ZBrush and sculpt them all at once. Then I'm going to kind of shrink wrap a plane over the top of them to keep all this as one piece of geometry, just to keep it lighter, but also just to keep it a bit easier to control in the scene, because there's going to be so many elements with all these plants that I figure having this all as one piece will save me time in texturing, because I'll only be texturing what I see, but will also save me time in the viewport, because it won't be lagging, which would be fantastic. So to achieve this, once it's got the plane over the top, we'll have to break it up into UV tiles, maybe into about 10 to 12 or something like that. I'm not quite sure yet. The great thing about that is depending on how close a particular section is to camera, I can quickly go change the resolution of those maps. So I'll probably make them in about 4K just to give me a bit of leeway, and then I can down res them depending on how they look through the camera. So I won't be wasting any texture resolution, and I won't be wasting any geometry this way. And I just think it'll work nice. The only downside is that because it's all going to be one piece of geometry, creating the separation between the rocks is going to be quite difficult, so I'm going to have to do some sculpting trickery there, I think, but that's okay. It's all part of this stuff. So yeah, so that's pretty much the basic layout. I've also got physical sun and sky set up. This is actually an older layout that I had. It's just a good representation of where I've come from. But yeah, the physical sun and sky is quite problematic in that it has a lot of problems pertaining to gamma. So a lot of my textures have to be converted to use that physical sun and sky gamma, which is kind of a pain, but it gives some pretty nice results. So I thought I'd use that instead of something like V-Ray, only because I just wanted to learn a bit more about Mental Ray and how it handles its physical sun and sky system. So anyway, thank you for listening, and that's my latest update on layout.